Section 10.2, Example 3 on page 600, we have, it is important to gather enough data before you make a conjecture. For example, you do not have enough information about the sequence 1, 3 to make a reasonable conjecture. The next term could be 3 times 3 equals 9 or 3 plus 2 equals 5. Example 3 says, what conjecture can you make about the sum of the first 30 even numbers? In order to make a conjecture, we need to gather some data. So we can make a table with the number of terms, meaning the number of even numbers, and the sum of those first even numbers. If we look at just the first even number, we have 2, and since it's by itself, the sum will just be 2. If we look at the first 2 even numbers, we get 2 and 4, so 2 plus 4 gives us 6. If we look at the first 3 even numbers, we have 2, 4, and 6, so 2 plus 4 plus 6 gives us 12, and the first 4 even numbers would be 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8, which gives us 20. We can start by looking at some common patterns, such as adding. So 2 plus 4 gives us 6, but 6 plus 6 gives us 12, not 4. So we could actually have stopped after the 4 and 6, but if you check again, 12 plus 8 gives us 20. These do not match, so this is not the pattern we're looking for. We can also check multiplication. 2 times 3 gives us 6, but 6 times 2 gives us 12, not 6 times 3. So this also does not work. Sometimes our patterns are related to our first value and our final value. So instead of going from 2 to 6, 6 to 12, we can look at the values 1 and 2, 2 and 6, 3 and 12, and so on. The number 2 is 1 times 2, the number 6 is 2 times 3, the number 12 is 3 times 4, and the number 20 is 4 times 5. Notice the first value here is 1, 2, 3, 4. We see these values again in our number of terms. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are our input values, so we're using our input values to get our output values. Another thing to note is that we have the number 1 and we're multiplying it by the next consecutive number 2. When we have the number 2, we multiply by the consecutive number 3 to get 6, and so on. Sometimes finding patterns like these is a little difficult, and as you can see, I tried multiple different patterns before I got to the final one. So it's okay if you don't get to the final pattern right away. It might take a few tries. The final pattern that we did find is that each sum is the product of the number of terms and the number of terms plus 1. Therefore, you can conclude that the sum of the first 30 even numbers is 30 times 31, or 930. Now, in a problem like this, if we're looking at the first 30 even numbers, 30 is not a crazy big number, so I have seen students in class write out the first 30 numbers. They wrote 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on until they got 30 different numbers, added them up, and they actually got the final answer of 930 faster than some of the kids who were looking for the correct pattern. However, keep in mind that it is asking us for a conjecture, so if you just got 930 by adding up the first 30 even numbers, you would have part of the answer, but you still need to find what the pattern is that we were using to get 930 instead of just adding them all up. The work for this problem is written out on the next slide. And now I would like you to try number 5 on page 601. Make a conjecture for each scenario. Show your work. The sum of the first 100 positive even numbers.